In this tutorial, we're going to create a custom link tree using the Breakdance Page Builder. We'll create a profile image, some unique buttons, and a contact form that pops up when the user clicks the contact button. Let's get into it. Okay, the first thing we need to do is create a new page. Hover over Pages and select New Page. Title of the page, Linktree, your name. For tutorial purposes, I'll use tutorial. Including your name makes it easier for search engines to find you. Welcome to Breakdance. For newcomers, the Add button lets you place elements on the page, and the Structure panel shows you the top-down hierarchy of that page. We'll start by laying out the elements we need, beginning with the section element. Keep everything linear layout, and for the vertical height and alignment, you're going to have that center. For the spacing, you're going to set the padding to 32 pixels to the left, 32 pixels to the right, and 96 pixels on top. This design follows an 8-point grid system, which I'll discuss shortly later on in this video. The next thing you'll need to do is add your elements. So we're going to first add an image element, a heading element, a text element, social networks element, and a button element. And we'll duplicate this button 3 more times. We'll also add another text element for a quote. And finally, a primary button. Let's begin the adjustments. First, set the image element to 100 pixels by 100 pixels. For the border radius, anything 64 pixels and above will give it a circular effect. We're going to add a shadow just to give it some depth. 25 should be fine. And this is going to be where your profile image goes. So while we're at it, let me go ahead and change this to 16 so it can be a little bit more subtle here. Next, let's adjust the heading. Click the Style tab. And for me, I'm going to use plus Jakarta Sans here. You can use any heading or any font that you want. So you're going to set the typography to 680 pixels, and you're going to do the same thing for the heading element. Set the font size for the heading to 28 pixels. This is going to be where your name goes. And to change screen specific dimensions, click the computer icon at the top This shows you how the design looks on each device and allows you to edit device specific elements. So we're going to go ahead and do the spacing here. We're going to change it to be 32 pixels on the bottom. Just click and drag. This one is going to be 16 pixels on the bottom. And then this is also 16 pixels. And these were going to be 24 in between. So you just copy and paste design, and that will give you those for those buttons, that spacing. And for the bottom of this text element here, which will be our quote, we're going to make that 24 pixels. All right, cool. All right, now we're going to set our primary and secondary buttons. The secondary buttons are going to be above the quote, and the primary button is going to be below the quote. So I'm going to set this background field to white, and I'm going to change the width to 680. Grayish dark, darkish gray type of color. A color that's going to be solid. That's going to show well on this white. Something like this. Maybe, yeah, there we go. All right, now that I have my color, let me set my outline. I'm actually going to use the same color. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and paste that design over to the other three buttons also. Great. Now we have our secondary buttons. So I'm going to also change the icons to have the same color. But first, let me make this transparent by sliding that all the way down. And I'm going to just copy and paste my same color that I used earlier. There we go. Now everything is monochromatic. Good. All right, so for this text element, I'm going to actually change that. Actually, no, I'm not going to change that because the text color and some of the colors are going to change depending on what background we do. So let's just keep it dark. Oops, no need to do that. Let me put that back to 24 pixels. All right, cool. So we have our everything here. And I am actually going to come back. I'll go ahead and paste the design here for now. We're going to change how that looks at the bottom, but for right now, I just want to keep everything congruent. So this is going to be our primary button, and this is going to be our secondary button. We're just going to put that there for reference. So the next thing is to add the image. For tutorial purposes, I'm going to use somebody that doesn't exist. You don't have to do this right now. If you want to, you can skip to this timestamp to continue on with the tutorial. But if you're following along, you can just find somebody on thispersondoesnotexist.com, and we're going to upload them in there. I already have somebody in here, and I'm going to name him James Johnson. Oh yeah. All right, James Johnson. So let's go ahead and paste your bio in here. I wrote a bio earlier for him. All right. So James Johnson, Seattle, specializing in mobile apps, rock climber. Great. So what are some things that he likes to do, or what are some things that we would have on here? Portfolio is one of them. Okay, and we're gonna also add an icon to these elements just to give it a little bit more visual flair. So what else would he have? A developer would have a GitHub. Let's go ahead and give him the GitHub icon. Not icon, GitHub. Okay, and next, probably gonna have a YouTube that you're trying to push. Won't make the same mistake again. YouTube. And the last thing is going to be a newsletter for your blog. All right, we got it. Okay, all of your elements are laid out and spaced on the page. You have your buttons, your social icons, your name, a little bit about you, and your favorite quote. So now the next thing we need to do is style the button. So when you hover over, it's actually going to show a hover color. Unfortunately, right now in Breakdance, you can't natively change the hover color. The Breakdance team is actively updating the builder, and I'm sure they'll add it soon. So we're gonna have to inspect the element and go through the CSS to change it ourselves. Luckily, it's not so hard to do it here. It's really just a matter of going to the hover colors specifically and changing them to the color that you want to. So when you're at the button, go over the color in your browser and change it to the color that you intend to use. And I'm also going to have a link in the description for the CSS code for the primary and secondary color buttons that I've shown in this video, and you can use them to cross-reference that as well. So once the colors are changed, copy your code from inside the window to better format your code. I suggest pasting it in an AI like Claude or ChatGPT to properly format your code. So you're going to type in the prompt, please format my CSS code. And then you go ahead and paste that in there. All right, and I also want them to separate the hover actions. So let me get them to separate hover actions. So with this, you take it, copy it, and then go to your button. Click on your button, hit the advanced tab, and select everything and paste your CSS in. Okay, so we actually have a little problem here. The text color for white isn't showing, but no problem about that. I'm gonna go back to Claude. So I'm coming back to Claude. Just give it the prompt, my white is not showing. And whatever color that you're using, you can come in and do the same prompt and it'll be able to fix it. But my white text is not showing on hover. What can be done to fix it? Okay, and they just changed the custom properties. So what happened is Breakdance was probably looking at the variable property and we just changed it to be manual, and you see it works. So if you look at the CSS code, you'll notice this number here, 105, 105. Your number may be different. Each one of these is just going to increment up. So instead of it being 105 for the next button, it's simply going to be 106. Yeah, so it changes that. So we can do the same thing to the next one. This is going to be 107. And then the next one is going to be 108. All right, all the buttons, or all of our secondary buttons are now changed. Okay, so now that we have our secondary buttons, it's time to work on our primary button. And our primary button is going to be a little bit different here because we're actually going to change this to be a completely solid color so they can know that this is the main action that we want them to take. So let me show you exactly what this looks like now. I'm gonna live in. All right, so now we need this to hover, and we're actually gonna make this hover a less light yellow of that. So people can know, one, we're staying on the website, and two, it's just a subtle hover. So I'm going to get the color here, use my color picker tool. And then I'm going to change the color to match. Not sure if I really like that, so I'm going to go ahead and undo that. And for this, it may actually be appropriate just to choose another color. Sometimes it's all right to go outside of your palette as long as you're not going too far off from your palette to find a color that contrasts very well. So I'm going to come here. And just for right now, I'm going to go ahead and set my pop-up action. We're going to go over how to make this pop-up after this, but I'm just going to set this up for something I made earlier, just so you can see exactly how this is going to show. And for the buttons, if you want to add your link, just click it, and you're going to put the link that you have, and make sure you press open in new tab. Because when you are on a Linktree, you want them to still be able to have access to your Linktree once you take them away from the page. So let's go ahead and open a new tab for all of them. And for this one, I'm actually going to change the color again. Make it just a little bit less black, a little bit more on the gray side. And this is more like a brownish gray, but as you can see, it is going to contrast pretty well with the button. So it's not too far along the lines or away, but you know, we pretty much only want to use this with the yellow. Again, whatever color you're using, just make sure that it contrasts well. I'm actually going to keep that border radius the same. Oh, I mean the border color. Yeah. All right, so we're saving this, and yeah, we have our button, and I'm gonna go ahead and do the CSS for this. Now, as you can see, the button it's different. It didn't go to 109. However, it just went into a different ID or ID number because it was a separate element. Now we'll add a background to give it more visual flair and add some more fun to this design. I'll go to Pexels and get a license-free image. And I want to use something minimal but with a colorful pattern. So I'm going to go ahead and search for patterns. And for James, I'm gonna find something that's gonna fit him. Yeah, this one will do. So we're gonna save this. I've already saved this. And you're gonna come to your section, go to the background, hit image, upload your image. As I said, I already have one. And yeah, now James has a background image. Seattle people are always riding bikes, right? Isn't that correct? Let me know in the comments. And I'm going to change the text on the bottom to be white to match with the design. And yeah, as you can see, now we have a design that is a Linktree, a more reminiscent of what Linktrees were in the beginning. But this can be used, changed, duplicated, however you need to do it. To make a new pop-up, go to the WordPress dashboard, hover over Breakdance, and click pop-ups. Click Add Pop-up, name it, and select Apply Everywhere. For this tutorial, I'm just going to put Touch Pop-up. Okay, and you're just going to open, and instead of adding a new section, we're just going to put the form builder. And as you can see, it already creates a form that wraps around whatever it is that we're making. So Breakdance makes it pretty easy to create a form. And what you're going to do here is you're going to add the emails that this will be going to and from. So basically, when somebody sends you a form, it's going to go to that email, and if you were to reply back, it will be replying back from that email. Keep those fields the same. Alright, so we're going to actually come to the style, go ahead and make this congruent. First thing I want to do is I just want to set a border radius to 4 pixels so it can match more of the radiuses that we have. I want to change this to plus Jakarta sans, and I am going to make this button full width. I'm going to give this plus Jakarta, that has been tongue twisted me, plus Jakarta sans, and then we're going to set that button color to the same color. I'm also going to set the typography to a dark color that we can use, same color that we had. And let's just make sure make the labels the same color, and we can leave that X button the same. So now we're going to save that. It's going to go back to our Linktree page. And you're going to go down to your Contact Me button, press the gear icon, hit the tutorial pop-up, and we're just going to save that. And that's your form. So we're going to just fill this out. I'm going to fill this out for some test information. And with this one, we didn't really worry about adding a hover because it already has a hover effect. You'll see exactly when we do it. But it submits and your message has been received. So it's clicking effect more, not a hover effect, but you know, it's an action. So we're gonna go to our form submissions, go to Breakdance form submissions, and there it is. All right. And there we have it. We have our own custom Linktree, fully editable and ready to share. Go through the different device dimensions and you'll see that everything is responsive. Be sure to save your work and make all the necessary changes to the fonts, colors, and whatever you see fit. If you enjoy this content and want to see more, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more. We are going to try to get more breakdance tutorials and other tech tutorials to you weekly. Have a great day.